Good morning, church. It's Pastor Mike. Um, I don't think I'm going out on a limb by saying that anybody who's watching this, and certainly myself, we don't like to lose. Whether you're particularly competitive or not, whether you get your feelings hurt or you get really upset if you lose a game or you come in second or, God forbid, last in something that you're competing in, nobody likes to lose. After all, when you were a kid and you used to imagine playing a game or being involved in something, nobody imagines losing the Indianapolis 500. Nobody imagines dropping the ball in the final seconds of the Super Bowl. Nobody imagines losing when it's all on the line, that your best just wasn't good enough to accomplish the goal that you had in mind. We want to win. We want to succeed at whatever we set our minds to. And it begs the question about what we are setting our minds to. I'm reminded this morning about Matthew chapter 16, whenever Matthew finally tells his disciples what's in store on their way back to Jerusalem. He tells them that he's going to be arrested, that he's going to be tortured and killed. And Peter takes him aside just after saying that he's the Messiah, the Son of the living God, and tells him, "Don't talk like this, Jesus. Don't bring this kind of negativity and attitude. We're going to win." And Jesus rebukes him in pretty harsh language. He says, "Get behind me, Satan. You're a stumbling block to me because you're not setting your mind on divine things, but instead you're setting them on human things. You have the wrong goal in mind, and winning for you isn't the same thing as winning in God's eyes." Jesus turned around and he told all of his disciples, and it's like he's speaking through 2,000 years right into our own world now. He says, "If any one of you want to become my followers, let them deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me." Now, famously, we all know the cross was a symbol of death. It was a means of torture and murder. And he said, "Be willing to face that every day and follow me." That's what a follower looks like. And he says something that's the perfect paradox. He says, "Those who want to save their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake will find it." Now, what in the world does that mean? I think in part, it means that we have to be willing to lose the games that we play in order to win the battles that God has set before us. Because what happens is we will bet it all. We'll give everything out on the field. We will win this small little battle that we find ourselves in. And in doing so, we lose the greater war. What God had called us to do, we've taken our eyes off of that prize, instead said, "I'm going to win on this small hill, and I'll set my flag here for my glory, and people will know how strong I am, or how powerful and influential I am, or how I could beat someone else in an argument." And at the foot of that argument lies all the possibilities that God had set before us if we could humble ourselves, if we could get off our high horse, and be willing to lose in order to win in God's eyes. God has called us more to be more than just our own little victors running in our own little triumph parade in a circle. God has called us to be part of something bigger, part of His kingdom, and His kingdom is not going to be measured by the individual victories each one of us win, thinking that we're winning them for God's glory. God's kingdom is built on each one of His followers being willing to give everything at the foot of the cross of the one who saved us. When we sell out entirely for God's glory and not our own, we will be astounded at what God can accomplish in our own lives, in our churches, in our nation, across the entire world. But that means we have to be ready to lose our own pride. We have to be willing to lose some of these different battles that we think are so important. Jesus ends with a rhetorical question to his disciples that I imagine probably kept them up at night. He said, "What will it profit them if they gain the whole world but forfeit their life. What would it mean for us if we won every battle we set out, but in the process of doing so, lost the very thing that had connected us with God? If we lost all relationship with God, all understanding of what His kingdom was about, because we were so focused on winning our individual battles. I hope that this coming week and this weekend will be a time where we can reassess what our goals are. I hope if you're here in town, you'll be able to join us for church this Sunday as we talk about the difference between our own plans and God's plans for each one of us and for all of us together as a church. Because ultimately, it is for God's glory that we are on this earth and not for our own. So I pray that God blesses you today with new vision and new understanding for what you can accomplish in His kingdom. And I pray that you will let down your own pride and your own fights that you wage in our world for the sake of God's kingdom and His plan, His priorities for you. Because you may lose a small battle on the way, but God has promised eternal victory when we set our eyes on Christ. God bless you today.